Stop waiting for more money to change your life. More money without the right mindset only creates bigger mistakes. The truth is simple. Wealth begins in the mind before it appears in the bank account. The people who achieve financial freedom do not think like everyone else. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They invest while others consume. They build assets while others build expenses. In this audiobook, you will learn how to rewire your financial thinking, make smarter investment decisions, and create the habits that lead to lasting freedom. Your future wealth starts with the next decision you make. The time is now. Chapter 1. Stop thinking poor and start thinking long-term. Most people do not have an income problem. They have a time problem. They think about today. The wealthy think about 10 years from now. That's the key. A poor mindset asks, what can I enjoy right now? A wealthy mindset asks, what can I build for the future? One question creates consumption. The other creates freedom. One creates temporary pleasure. The other creates lasting wealth. You have a choice. Every single day you have a choice. Most people are trapped because they make decisions based on immediate emotions. They buy what feels good. They avoid what feels uncomfortable. They chase instant rewards. Then they wonder why financial freedom never arrives. The answer is simple. They are planting short-term seeds and expecting long-term results. That never works. That's the key. Imagine two people receiving the same paycheck. The first person spends most of it immediately. New clothes, new gadgets, weekend entertainment, restaurant meals. The second person pauses. They save. They invest. They think. 5 years later, the difference becomes obvious. 10 years later, the difference becomes massive. The money was the same. The opportunity was the same. The thinking was different. That's the key. The future belongs to the prepared. Remember that. The future belongs to the prepared. Again, the future belongs to the prepared. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than planning their financial future. Think about that. Hours researching hotels. Hours researching flights. Hours researching entertainment. But almost no time researching investments. No time studying wealth building. No time creating financial goals. Then they wonder why life feels financially difficult. The answer is hidden in their priorities. That's the key. You become what you repeatedly focus on. If your focus is consumption, your life moves toward consumption. If your focus is ownership, your life moves toward ownership. Money follows attention. Opportunities follow preparation. Success follows discipline. That's the key. Many people believe rich people simply got lucky. That belief is dangerous because it removes responsibility. If wealth is luck, then effort doesn't matter. If wealth is luck, then discipline doesn't matter. If wealth is luck, then planning doesn't matter. But that's not true. The reality is different. Most wealthy people think differently long before they earn differently. That's the key. They delay gratification. They postpone rewards. They sacrifice comfort today for freedom tomorrow. The average person sacrifices freedom tomorrow for comfort today. That single difference changes everything. You have a choice. You can buy things that impress people now, or you can build a future that impresses yourself later. One creates attention. The other creates freedom. Freedom is always worth more. That's the key. Think years, not moments. Think years, not moments. Again, think years, not moments. Every major financial mistake begins with short-term thinking. Every major financial success begins with long-term thinking. The wealthy understand this deeply. They know that every dollar carries potential. Every dollar can be spent, or every dollar can be planted. The poor mindset consumes seeds. The wealthy mindset plants them. That's the key. Imagine a farmer eating all his seeds. What happens? Nothing grows. Next season becomes difficult. The future becomes uncertain. Now imagine a farmer planting those seeds. The harvest grows. The opportunities grow. The future expands. Money works the same way. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need anyone's approval to start building your future. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need a perfect economy. You don't need a six-figure income. You need a long-term mindset. That's where everything begins. Most people are waiting for more money, waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for the perfect moment. The wealthy understand something important. The perfect moment never arrives. Action creates opportunity. Preparation creates opportunity. Thinking long-term creates opportunity. That's the key. It's not about income. It's about vision. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. It's not about where you are today. It's about where you are headed. That's the key. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is asking a simple question before every financial decision. How will this affect my life 5 years from now? Not 5 minutes. Not 5 days. 5 years. That question changes everything. Suddenly impulse purchases lose power. Suddenly distractions lose power. Suddenly long-term goals become more important. Because the future becomes visible. That's the key. The wealthy constantly think ahead. They understand that today's actions create tomorrow's reality. They know that financial freedom is not built overnight. It is built one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one investment at a time, one sacrifice at a time. The process is slow at first, but the rewards become extraordinary. That's the key. Many people want extraordinary results. Few are willing to make ordinary disciplined decisions consistently. That is why so many struggle, and why so few succeed. Success is not complicated. It is consistency applied over time. That's the key. The future belongs to the prepared. The future belongs to the disciplined. The future belongs to those willing to think beyond today. Remember that. Every purchase is shaping your future. Every habit is shaping your future. Every financial decision is shaping your future. You have a choice. Think like everyone else. Or think differently. Think short-term. Or think long-term. One path leads to temporary satisfaction. The other leads to lasting freedom. The wealthy choose freedom. Again and again. That is why they win. Master this principle and your financial life begins to change. Because wealth is not built when money enters your account. Wealth is built when long-term thinking enters your mind. That's the key. Now that you understand the power of thinking beyond today, it's time to examine the foundation of every financial breakthrough. Because before you invest your money, you must first invest in your thinking. Chapter 2. Your mindset is your first investment. Chapter 2. Your mindset is your first investment. Most people try to change their finances without changing their thinking. That is why they stay stuck. That's the key. You cannot build a wealthy life with a poor mindset. You cannot create financial freedom while holding beliefs that keep you trapped. Everything begins in the mind. Every business, every investment, every fortune, every achievement. First, it existed as an idea. Then it became reality. That's the key. Wealth begins in the mind. Remember that. Wealth begins in the mind. Again, wealth begins in the mind. Most people spend years trying to improve their income. Very few spend time improving their mindset. They learn how to work harder, but they never learn how to think differently. And because they think the same way, they continue getting the same results. That's the key. The average person believes money is scarce. The wealthy believe opportunities are abundant. The average person focuses on obstacles. The wealthy focus on solutions. The average person asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The wealthy ask, "What can I learn from this?" That difference changes everything. That's the key. Your beliefs act like filters. They determine what you notice. They determine what you ignore. They determine what actions you take. And actions determine outcomes. If you believe wealth is impossible, you will never pursue it seriously. If you believe success belongs to other people, you will never build it yourself. If you believe money is evil, you will subconsciously avoid acquiring it. That's the key. You have a choice. Keep old beliefs, or create new ones. One keeps you trapped. The other moves you forward. The wealthy understand that mindset is not fixed, can be trained, can be improved, can be strengthened, just like a muscle. That's the key. Think about successful investors, successful entrepreneurs, successful wealth builders. Before they built wealth, they built belief. Not blind belief, constructive belief. The belief that effort matters. The belief that learning matters. The belief that discipline matters. The belief that growth is possible. That's the key. Many people say they want financial freedom, but their daily thoughts say otherwise. They focus on limitations. They focus on problems. They focus on fear. Then they wonder why opportunities seem invisible. The answer is simple. You find what you train yourself to see. That's the key. Change your thinking, change your future. Change your thinking, change your future. Again, change your thinking, change your future. Every major transformation starts there. Not with money, not with investments, with thinking. Because thinking creates behavior. Behavior creates habits. Habits create results. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need someone else's approval to think bigger. You don't need society's permission to improve your financial life. You don't need validation. You need responsibility. Because responsibility creates power. The moment you accept responsibility, you gain control. The moment you blame everything else, you lose it. That's the key. Many people spend years blaming circumstances, the economy, their employer, their background, their past. While those factors can create challenges, they cannot become permanent excuses. The wealthy understand this. They focus on what they can control, their effort, their learning, their habits, their decisions. That's the key. Imagine two people facing the same obstacle. One says, "This is impossible." The other says, "There must be a way." The obstacle is identical. The outcome is not. Because mindset influences action, and action influences results. That's the key. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. It's not about intelligence. It's about growth. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. The wealthy understand this deeply. That is why they continue improving while others remain stagnant. That's the key. A powerful exercise is to listen carefully to your own thoughts. Pay attention. What do you repeatedly tell yourself about money? Do you say, "I'll never be wealthy. Investing is too risky. Rich people are different. I can't do that"? Those thoughts are expensive. Very expensive. Because they shape behavior. That's the key. Replace them. Not with fantasy. With productive beliefs. Instead of saying, "I can't," ask, "How can I?" Instead of saying, "That's impossible," ask, "What's possible?" Instead of saying, "I'll never learn," say, "I can improve." That shift changes everything. That's the key. The wealthy are lifelong students. They read, they learn, they study, they adapt. Because they understand that knowledge compounds. Just like money, every lesson adds value. Every skill creates opportunity. Every improvement expands possibilities. That's the key. You have a choice. Protect your ego, or grow your mind. One keeps you comfortable. The other makes you stronger. The wealthy choose growth. Again and again. Because growth creates opportunities. And opportunities create wealth. That's the key. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough. The wealthy create breakthroughs through preparation. They invest in themselves before they invest elsewhere. They improve their thinking before they improve their finances. They strengthen their mindset before they strengthen their portfolio. Because they understand something important. Your greatest asset is not your bank account. Your greatest asset is your mind. That's the key. A stronger mindset leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better habits. Better habits lead to better outcomes. And over time, those outcomes completely transform your life. That's how wealth is built. From the inside out. That's the key. Never underestimate the value of changing how you think. Because every financial success begins as a mental decision. A decision to learn. A decision to improve. A decision to take responsibility. A decision to grow. Master your mindset and everything else becomes easier. Ignore your mindset and everything else becomes harder. That's the key. Now that you've learned that your mind is your first and most important investment, it's time to focus on what wealthy people actually build. Because freedom is not created by income alone. Freedom is created through ownership. Chapter 3. Stop chasing money and start building assets. Chapter 3. Stop chasing money and start building assets. Most people spend their lives chasing money. The wealthy spend their lives building assets. That's the key. Money comes. Money goes. An asset stays. An asset works. An asset produces. That is the difference. Most people are focused on earning. The wealthy are focused on owning. One strategy requires constant effort. The other creates long-term leverage. That's the key. Think about the average financial goal. I want to make more money. Nothing wrong with that. But it is incomplete. Because making money and keeping wealth are two different skills. Many people earn impressive incomes and still struggle financially. Why? Because income alone does not create freedom. Ownership creates freedom. That's the key. Paycheck is valuable. But a paycheck is not an asset. A paycheck is temporary. An asset has the potential to continue producing value long after the paycheck is spent. The wealthy understand this. That is why they focus on acquiring things that grow, things that generate income, things that appreciate, things that work while they sleep. That's the key. You have a choice. Spend your money or position your money. One creates temporary satisfaction. The other creates future opportunity. The wealthy choose opportunity again and again because opportunity compounds. That's the key. Many people believe wealth comes from working harder. Working harder can increase income, but ownership increases leverage. And leverage changes everything. Imagine carrying a heavy object. Now imagine using a machine to lift it. The machine creates leverage. Assets do the same thing financially. They help you achieve more with less effort over time. That's the key. Assets buy freedom. Remember that. Assets buy freedom. Again, assets buy freedom. Every asset you acquire has the potential to strengthen your future. Every liability has the potential to weaken it. The wealthy understand the difference. That is why they ask a simple question before making major financial decisions. Will this make me richer or simply look richer? That question eliminates countless mistakes. That's the key. The average person sees extra income and thinks about spending. The wealthy see extra income and think about acquiring assets. One mindset creates expenses. The other creates opportunities. One creates consumption. The other creates ownership. That's the key. Consider a simple example. Person receives a bonus. One immediately upgrades their lifestyle. The other acquires an investment. First, both feel satisfied. But years later, the outcomes are dramatically different. One purchased temporary pleasure. The other purchased future possibilities. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to prove your success through spending. You need to build ownership. Because ownership creates independence. Ownership creates options. Ownership creates security. That's the key. Many people confuse activity with progress. They work harder, earn more, spend more, repeat. The cycle continues. The wealthy break the cycle. They redirect resources toward assets. They understand that every asset is a future worker. Every asset has a job. Every asset contributes. That's the key. Think about the most financially successful people in the world. What do they own? Assets, businesses, investments, real estate, intellectual property, productive resources, ownership. Again and again. That is not an accident. That's the key. It's not about chasing dollars. It's about building systems that produce dollars. That is a completely different way of thinking. One depends entirely on effort. The other benefits from ownership. The wealthy focus on systems, not just income. That's the key. Most people ask, how much money can I make? The wealthy ask, how many assets can I build? The first question focuses on today. The second focuses on tomorrow. Long-term thinkers always ask better questions. That's the key. You have a choice. Become a consumer or become an owner. One creates dependency. The other creates freedom. The wealthy choose ownership. Again and again. Because ownership grows. Ownership compounds. Ownership creates leverage. That's the key. Many people delay investing because they believe they need huge amounts of money. That belief is expensive. Very expensive. The truth is simple. Assets are often built gradually. One step at a time. One investment at a time. One disciplined decision at a time. The wealthy understand this. They start where they are. They use what they have. They build consistently. That's the key. It's not about perfection. It's about discipline. It's not about timing everything perfectly. It's about participation. It's not about getting rich overnight. It's about building wealth steadily. The wealthy know that consistency beats intensity. That's the key. Every financial decision should move you toward ownership, toward leverage, toward opportunity, toward freedom. That is the standard. That is the filter. That is the mindset. That's the key. The average person spends first and invests later. The wealthy invest first and spend later. That simple reversal creates extraordinary differences over time. Because what you prioritize grows. What you neglect shrinks. The wealthy prioritize assets. That's the key. Imagine your future 10 years from now. Will you be proud of the things you consumed? Or the things you built? The answer is obvious. Consumption disappears. Ownership remains. That's why the wealthy focus on building, not showing, creating, not impressing, owning, not pretending. That's the key. Every asset acquired strengthens your future. Every productive investment increases your options. Every ownership decision expands your freedom. That is how wealth is built. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, through consistent ownership. Again and again, year after year. That's the key. Master this principle and your relationship with money changes forever. You stop asking how much you can spend. You start asking what you can build. You stop chasing income alone. You start creating leverage. You stop thinking like a consumer. You start thinking like an owner. And ownership is where true wealth begins. Now that you understand the power of assets, it's time to confront the excuse that keeps millions of people from ever starting. The excuse of waiting. Waiting for more money. Waiting for more confidence. Waiting for the perfect moment. Chapter 4. Invest before you feel ready. Chapter 4. Invest before you feel ready. Most people wait too long. Too long to start investing. Too long to start building wealth. Too long to take action. And by the time they finally begin, they have already lost something valuable. Time. That's the key. The biggest mistake is not making the wrong investment. The biggest mistake is never getting started. Because wealth rewards action. Not hesitation. Not excuses. Not endless preparation. Action. That's the key. Many people tell themselves the same story. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I know more. I'll start when the market is better. I'll start when the timing is perfect. But the perfect moment never arrives. There is always uncertainty. There is always risk. There is always another reason to wait. That's the key. You have a choice. Wait for certainty. Or act despite uncertainty. One keeps you stuck. The other moves you forward. The wealthy choose progress. Again and again. Because they understand something important. Action creates clarity. Not the other way around. That's the key. Think about learning to swim. You can read books, watch videos, study techniques, but eventually you must enter the water. Investing works the same way. You can learn forever, but until you begin, nothing changes. Knowledge without action creates no results. That's the key. Action creates clarity. Remember that. Action creates clarity. Again, action creates clarity. Most people believe confidence comes before action. The truth is the opposite. Confidence comes from action. Confidence comes from experience. Confidence comes from repetition. The wealthy understand this. That is why they start before they feel ready. That's the key. Every successful investor was once a beginner. Every successful entrepreneur was once inexperienced. Every wealthy person once had doubts. Fear is normal. Uncertainty is normal. Waiting forever is not. That's the key. Many people confuse preparation with progress. They spend years preparing, years researching, years planning, years thinking, but no years doing. The wealthy prepare, then they act. Because action transforms knowledge into results. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're ready. You don't need perfect confidence. You don't need perfect knowledge. You need the courage to begin. That is where growth starts. That's the key. Imagine two people. One waits 5 years for the perfect opportunity. The other starts immediately and learns along the way. Who gains more experience? Who develops more confidence? Who builds more momentum? The answer is obvious. The person who starts. That's the key. Start before you're comfortable. Start before you're comfortable. Again. Start before you're comfortable. Comfort rarely creates growth. Growth usually begins with discomfort. The wealthy understand this. That is why they are willing to feel uncertain, temporarily, in exchange for long-term opportunity. That's the key. Most people focus too much on avoiding mistakes. The wealthy focus on making progress. Because small mistakes can be corrected. Years of inaction cannot. That's the key. Think about how many opportunities disappear because of hesitation. How many investments are delayed. How many goals are postponed. How many dreams remain unfinished. Not because people lack ability. Because they lack action. That's the key. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. It's not about confidence. It's about commitment. It's not about certainty. It's about progress. The wealthy understand this deeply. That is why they move while others wait. That's the key. You have a choice. Be a spectator. Or be a participant. One watches opportunities pass by. The other benefits from them. The wealthy participate. Again and again. Because participation creates experience. Experience creates confidence. Confidence creates momentum. That's the key. Many people believe they need large amounts of money to begin investing. That belief keeps them trapped. The wealthy understand a different truth. Starting matters more than size. Consistency matters more than intensity. The habit matters more than the amount. That's the key. A small investment teaches discipline. A small investment creates awareness. A small investment builds confidence. The amount may be small. The lesson is enormous. That's the key. Done beats perfect. Remember that. Done beats perfect. Again. Done beats perfect. The perfect investment does not exist. The perfect timing does not exist. The perfect opportunity does not exist. But progress exists. Consistency exists. Growth exists. And those are far more valuable. That's the key. Many people spend years waiting for ideal conditions. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. Compounding keeps moving. Opportunities keep moving. The wealthy move too. Because they understand that waiting has a cost. A hidden cost. Powerful cost. The cost of lost time. That's the key. Time is one of the greatest wealth-building tools available. Every year matters. Every month matters. Every day matters. The sooner you begin, the more opportunity time has to work for you. The wealthy understand this. That is why they start. That's the key. The goal is not perfection. The goal is participation. The goal is not certainty. The goal is progress. The goal is not avoiding every mistake. The goal is learning, adapting, and improving. That's how wealth is built. That's the key. You don't become confident and then act. You act and become confident. You don't become experienced and then start. You start and gain experience. You don't wait for momentum. You create momentum. That's the key. Every day you delay is a day that could have been working for your future. Every action you take today strengthens your position tomorrow. The wealthy understand this. That is why they refuse to wait forever. They begin. They learn. They improve. They continue. Again and again. That's the key. Master this principle and you stop postponing your future. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You start moving. You start learning. You start building. And once you begin, something remarkable happens. Time becomes your ally. Momentum becomes your ally. Growth becomes your ally. Now that you've learned the power of starting before you're ready, it's time to understand the force that transforms small actions into extraordinary outcomes. The force that rewards patience more than talent. Chapter 5. The Secret Power of Compounding. Chapter 5. The Secret Power of Compounding. Most people underestimate what time can do. The wealthy never do. That's the key. People want dramatic results. Fast results. Immediate results. They want success this month. They want wealth this year. They want freedom tomorrow. But wealth does not usually work that way. Wealth grows quietly, slowly, consistently, then suddenly. That's the key. The greatest force in wealth building is not income. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is compounding. The ability of small actions to create massive outcomes over time. The ability of consistency to outperform intensity. The ability of patience to outperform excitement. That's the key. Most people quit too early. They save for a few months, then stop. They invest for a year, then stop. They expect immediate rewards. When rewards don't appear quickly, they become discouraged. The wealthy understand something different. The early stages are supposed to look slow. That's the key. Small actions become big outcomes. Remember that. Small actions become big outcomes. Again, small actions become big outcomes. A single dollar invested may seem insignificant. A single disciplined decision may seem insignificant. A single month of saving may seem insignificant. But compounding doesn't reward single actions. It rewards repeated actions. Repeated consistently, over long periods of time. That's the key. Imagine planting a tree. The first year looks unimpressive. The second year looks unimpressive. Even the third year may seem slow. But beneath the surface, roots are growing. Strength is developing. A foundation is being built. Eventually growth accelerates. The same thing happens with wealth. That's the key. The average person focuses on visible results. The wealthy focus on invisible progress. Because invisible progress eventually becomes visible success. That's the key. You have a choice. Demand immediate gratification, or trust long-term growth. One creates frustration. The other creates wealth. The wealthy choose growth. Again and again. Because they understand the process. That's the key. Think about physical fitness. One workout changes almost nothing. One healthy meal changes almost nothing. One day of discipline changes almost nothing. But years of consistency create transformation. Money works exactly the same way. Wealth is rarely built through one massive decision. It is built through thousands of small decisions. That's the key. The wealthy fall in love with the process, not the outcome. They focus on habits, systems, consistency, because they understand that outcomes eventually follow. That's the key. Time rewards consistency. Time rewards consistency. Again, time rewards consistency. Many people think they need extraordinary opportunities. The wealthy know ordinary opportunities repeated consistently are often enough. They invest regularly. They save regularly. They learn regularly. They improve regularly. And over time, extraordinary results emerge. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need a perfect economy. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistency. Because consistency unlocks compounding. And compounding changes everything. That's the key. Many people become distracted by shortcuts. Get rich quick. Instant success. Rapid wealth. Easy money. The wealthy understand that shortcuts are often expensive detours. Real wealth is built through patience, through discipline, through time. That's the key. Imagine two people. One invests consistently for 20 years. The other constantly starts and stops. Both have opportunities. Both have access. Only one benefits fully from compounding, the consistent one. Because compounding rewards commitment, not excitement. That's the key. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's not about making one perfect decision. It's about making many good decisions. The wealthy understand this deeply. That's the key. Many people quit because progress appears slow. The wealthy continue because they understand what is happening. They know momentum is building. They know growth is building. They know results are coming, even if those results are not visible yet. That's the key. Think years, not weeks. Think decades, not days. Long-term thinking is what allows compounding to work its magic. Without patience, compounding never reaches its full potential. That's the key. Every time you save money, compounding gets stronger. Every time you invest consistently, compounding gets stronger. Every time you remain disciplined, compounding gets stronger. Small actions, repeated over time, create extraordinary outcomes. That's the formula. That's the key. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10. That mistake keeps them trapped. The wealthy think differently. They understand that meaningful success takes time, and they are willing to give it time. That's the key. You have a choice. Chase excitement or build momentum. One creates emotional highs. The other creates lasting results. The wealthy choose momentum again and again because momentum compounds. That's the key. The secret is simple. Start. Stay consistent. Remain patient. Trust the process. Continue learning. Continue investing. Continue improving. Again and again. Year after year. That's how compounding works. That's how wealth grows. That's how freedom is created. That's the key. The world celebrates dramatic success stories. But behind every dramatic success story are years of invisible discipline. Years of repetition. Years of patience. Years of consistency. Compounding rewards those years. And eventually the results become impossible to ignore. That's the key. Master this principle and you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop demanding immediate results. You start respecting time. You start trusting consistency. You start building real wealth. Because the greatest fortunes are often built through simple actions repeated for extraordinary lengths of time. And once you understand compounding, you begin to realize something important. The greatest threat to wealth isn't lack of income. It's spending money to impress people. That's what we'll discuss next. Chapter 6. Stop buying status and start buying freedom. Chapter 6. Stop buying status and start buying freedom. One of the most expensive habits in the world is trying to impress people. That's the key. People buy things they do not need, with money they cannot afford to spend, to impress people who are not paying attention. And then they wonder why financial freedom feels impossible. The answer is simple. They are purchasing status instead of building wealth. That's the key. Most people have been taught to chase appearances. The bigger house, the newer car, the luxury brand, the expensive lifestyle. They believe these things signal success. Sometimes they do, but often they signal debt, stress, pressure, financial dependency. That's the key. The wealthy understand something different. True wealth is not what people see. True wealth is what people do not see. The investments, the savings, the ownership, the options, the freedom. That's the key. Freedom beats approval. Remember that. Freedom beats approval. Again, freedom beats approval. Many people spend years seeking validation. They want others to notice them, to admire them, to envy them. The problem is that validation is temporary. And it is expensive. Very expensive. That's the key. You have a choice. Buy things to impress strangers, or build a future that impresses yourself. One creates attention. The other creates independence. The wealthy choose independence. Again and again. Because independence lasts longer than attention. That's the key. Think about social media. Every day people are exposed to carefully selected images of success. Luxury vacations, luxury cars, luxury lifestyles. The problem is that appearances are easy to purchase. Real wealth is harder. Many people become trapped trying to keep up, trying to compete, trying to prove something. That's the key. The wealthy rarely play that game. They understand that appearances can be misleading. A person driving an expensive car may be deeply in debt. A person living modestly may be financially free. The wealthy focus on reality, not perception. That's the key. Appear rich or become rich. Appear rich or become rich. Again, appear rich or become rich. Most people try to do both and end up accomplishing neither. The wealthy choose becoming rich because becoming rich creates options. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You do not need anyone's approval to live below your means. You do not need society's approval to make smart financial decisions. You do not need validation. You need vision, because vision keeps you focused on the future. That's the key. Many people increase spending every time income increases. This is called lifestyle inflation. A raise arrives. Expenses increase. A bonus arrives. Spending increases. Income grows. But wealth does not. That's the trap. That's the key. The wealthy avoid this trap. When income rises, investments rise. When income rises, ownership rises. When income rises, freedom rises. They understand that every increase in income is an opportunity, not a reason to spend more. That's the key. Imagine two people receiving the same promotion. One immediately upgrades their lifestyle. The other increases investments. 10 years later, the difference is enormous. Not because of income, because of behavior, because of priorities. That's the key. It's not about income. It's about discipline. It's not about appearance. It's about ownership. It's not about showing success. It's about creating success. The wealthy understand this deeply. That's the key. Many people buy luxury before they build security. That decision often creates pressure, because maintaining a lifestyle can become more difficult than creating one. The wealthy reverse the order. They build security first, then flexibility, then freedom. That's the key. Every dollar spent on status is a dollar that cannot be invested. Every dollar spent on approval is a dollar that cannot compound. Every dollar spent on appearances is a dollar that cannot create future opportunities. The wealthy understand opportunity cost. That's the key. Opportunity cost is simple. Whenever you choose one thing, you give up another. Buy a luxury item today, and you may sacrifice future growth. Invest that money instead, and you may sacrifice temporary pleasure. The wealthy consistently choose long-term rewards. That's the key. You have a choice. Live for appearances, or live for freedom. One creates dependency. The other creates power. The wealthy choose power, again and again, because power creates options. That's the key. Think about financial freedom. What does it really mean? It means having choices. The choice to change careers. The choice to take opportunities. The choice to spend time with family. The choice to live life on your terms. Freedom is not about luxury. Freedom is about control. That's the key. Most people underestimate how much money they spend trying to impress others. Small upgrades, impulse purchases, status symbols. Over time, these expenses become enormous, and all of them compete with wealth building. That's the key. The wealthy ask different questions. Instead of asking, "Will people be impressed?" they ask, "Will this improve my future?" That single question prevents countless mistakes. That's the key. The goal is not to avoid enjoyment. The goal is to avoid unconscious spending. The goal is intentional living, intentional spending, intentional investing, intentional wealth building. That's the key. Freedom is always more valuable than appearance. Freedom creates peace. Freedom creates confidence. Freedom creates opportunity. Appearances create temporary attention. The wealthy know the difference. And because they know the difference, they make different decisions. That's the key. Every unnecessary status purchase delays freedom. Every disciplined investment accelerates it. That is the truth. Simple, powerful, Life-changing. That's the key. Master this principle and you stop trying to look wealthy. You start becoming wealthy. You stop buying approval. You start buying freedom. You stop chasing appearances. You start building options. And that is where real wealth begins. Because the ultimate goal is not to work forever. The ultimate goal is to make your money work for you. Chapter 7. Make your money work harder than you do. Chapter 7. Make your money work harder than you do. Most people work for money their entire lives. The wealthy eventually reach a point where money works for them. That's the key. If you stop working today, what happens to your income? For many people, the answer is simple. Income stops. Bills continue. Pressure continues. Responsibilities continue. That is not freedom. That is dependency. The wealthy understand this. That is why they focus on building systems that generate income beyond their personal labor. That's the key. Money is a tool. Nothing more. Nothing less. The question is whether you are using the tool effectively. Most people spend money. The wealthy deploy money. Most people consume money. The wealthy assign money a mission. That's the key. Every dollar needs a job. Remember that. Every dollar needs a job. Again, every dollar needs a job. A dollar sitting idle has limited value. A dollar invested has potential. A dollar placed into productive assets can grow, multiply, and create opportunities. The wealthy understand this. That is why they rarely allow money to remain inactive for long. That's the key. Imagine hiring an employee and then asking that employee to sit in a chair all day doing nothing. That would make no sense. Yet many people do exactly that with their money. They allow it to remain inactive, unused, unproductive. The wealthy think differently. They expect money to contribute. They expect money to perform. They expect money to create value. That's the key. You have a choice. Spend every dollar, or put every dollar to work. One creates temporary pleasure. The other creates future possibilities. The wealthy choose possibilities. Again and again. Because possibilities create freedom. That's the key. Most people trade time for money. The wealthy build systems that separate income from hours worked. This is one of the most important financial shifts you can make. Because your time is limited. There are only so many hours in a day. But productive assets can continue generating value long after your workday ends. That's the key. Money should work. Money should work. Again, money should work. The wealthy understand that earned income is important. But earned income alone rarely creates extraordinary wealth. Extraordinary wealth often comes from ownership. Ownership of investments. Ownership of businesses. Ownership of assets. Ownership creates leverage. That's the key. Think about leverage. Leverage allows you to achieve more with fewer direct efforts. A machine can perform the work of many people. A productive asset can perform the work of many dollars. That is why ownership matters so much. That's the key. Many people believe financial success requires endless hard work. Hard work matters. But hard work alone has limits. Eventually you need systems. Eventually you need leverage. Eventually you need assets. The wealthy understand this. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval to think differently about money. You don't need approval to become an owner. You don't need approval to build systems. You simply need discipline. That's the key. Consider the difference between spending and investing. Spending removes money from your future. Investing can strengthen your future. Spending creates a transaction. Investing creates potential. The wealthy never forget this distinction. That's the key. Many people focus entirely on increasing income. The wealthy focus on increasing productive assets. Why? Because assets can continue creating value. Even while you sleep. Even while you travel. Even while you focus on other opportunities. That's the key. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's not about income. It's about leverage. It's not about effort alone. It's about ownership. The wealthy understand this deeply. That's the key. Imagine two individuals. One spends every dollar earned. The other consistently directs a portion of income toward productive assets. At first, their lives may appear similar. But over time, the difference becomes extraordinary. One remains dependent on work. The other develops increasing freedom. That's the power of leverage. That's the key. Most people underestimate how powerful small investments can become. Not because of size, because of consistency. Small amounts invested regularly can become significant assets over time. The wealthy understand this. That is why they focus on habits rather than dramatic actions. That's the key. Put your money to work. Remember that. Put your money to work. Again, put your money to work. Every dollar should have a purpose. Every dollar should move you closer to freedom. Every dollar should contribute to a larger vision. That is how wealth builders think. That's the key. You have a choice. Allow money to disappear through consumption, or direct money toward production. One weakens your future. The other strengthens it. The wealthy consistently choose production, because production creates growth. That's the key. Financial freedom is not achieved when you earn a certain amount. Financial freedom begins when your assets start carrying part of the load. When your money contributes. When your investments grow. When ownership expands. When leverage increases. That's the key. Many people spend years upgrading their lifestyle. The wealthy spend years upgrading their asset base. One creates higher expenses. The other creates greater opportunities. One increases pressure. The other increases freedom. That's the key. The goal is simple. Build assets. Create leverage. Develop systems. Allow your money to become productive. Again and again. Year after year. That is how wealth grows. That is how opportunities expand. That is how freedom becomes possible. That's the key. Master this principle and you stop viewing money as something to spend. You begin viewing money as something to deploy. You stop thinking like a consumer. You begin thinking like an owner. And once your money starts working for you, another powerful force determines how much wealth you ultimately create. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence. Discipline. Chapter 8. Discipline creates wealth. Chapter 8. Discipline creates wealth. People love to talk about talent. They admire intelligence. They celebrate natural ability. But when it comes to building wealth, there is something far more important. Discipline. That's the key. Talent can help you start. Discipline helps you finish. Talent can create opportunities. Discipline helps you capitalize on them. Talent may attract attention. Discipline creates results. The wealthy understand this. That is why they focus less on talent and more on habits. That's the key. Look around. Most people already know what they should do. They know they should save. They know they should invest. They know they should avoid unnecessary debt. They know they should think long-term. The problem is rarely knowledge. The problem is execution. That's the key. Discipline wins. Remember that. Discipline wins. Again, discipline wins. Many people wait until they feel motivated. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until circumstances improve. The wealthy act regardless of how they feel, because feelings change. Discipline remains. That's the key. You have a choice. Follow your emotions, or follow your principles. One changes every day. The other keeps you moving forward. The wealthy choose principles. Again and again. Because principles create consistency. That's the key. Think about exercise. One workout changes very little. One missed workout changes very little. What matters is consistency. The same is true with money. One investment will not make you wealthy. One financial mistake will not ruin you. But repeated habits determine outcomes. That's the key. Habits become destiny. Habits become destiny. Again, habits become destiny. Every financial habit is casting a vote. A vote for wealth, or a vote for struggle, a vote for freedom, or a vote for dependency. The wealthy understand that small habits matter, because small habits eventually become large results. That's the key. Many people fail financially because they rely on willpower. Willpower is limited. Discipline is stronger. Systems are stronger. The wealthy build systems that make good decisions easier. Automatic savings. Automatic investing. Automatic financial reviews. Systems create consistency. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need anyone to force you to become disciplined. You don't need perfect circumstances. You need standards, because standards determine behavior, and behavior determines outcomes. That's the key. The average person makes decisions based on mood. The wealthy make decisions based on goals. One reacts, the other plans. One drifts, the other directs. That's the key. Imagine two investors. One invests only when they feel confident. The other invests consistently according to a plan. Over time, who is more likely to succeed? The disciplined investor. Because consistency beats emotion. Again and again. That's the key. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. It's not about intelligence. It's about consistency. It's not about motivation. It's about commitment. The wealthy understand this deeply. That's the key. Every great financial achievement is built on ordinary disciplined actions. Saving money, investing regularly, controlling expenses, learning continuously. None of these actions are exciting, but together they become powerful. That's the key. Many people underestimate the importance of routine. The wealthy embrace it, because routine removes unnecessary decisions. Routine reduces emotional mistakes. Routine creates momentum. That's the key. Trust the process. Remember that. Trust the process. Again, trust the process. Wealth building is not complicated. People make it complicated. The principles are simple. Spend less than you earn. Invest consistently. Think long-term. Avoid unnecessary debt. Continue learning. The challenge is not understanding the principles. The challenge is applying them consistently. That's where discipline matters. That's the key. You have a choice. Seek comfort or seek growth. Comfort feels good today. Growth creates a better tomorrow. The wealthy choose growth. Again and again. Because growth compounds. That's the key. Discipline protects you from emotional decisions. When fear appears, discipline keeps you investing. When temptation appears, discipline keeps you focused. When distractions appear, discipline keeps you moving forward. That is why discipline is so valuable. That's the key. Most people admire successful outcomes. Few admire the routines that create them. But routines matter. Daily actions matter. Small decisions matter. The wealthy understand this. That is why they focus on process, not just results. That's the key. Imagine building a wall. One brick seems insignificant. 2 bricks seem insignificant. 10 bricks seem insignificant. But enough bricks create something powerful. Wealth is built the same way. One disciplined action at a time. That's the key. The wealthy are not perfect. They make mistakes. They experience setbacks. They encounter challenges. The difference is that discipline keeps them moving. Discipline prevents small mistakes from becoming permanent failures. That's the key. Success rarely belongs to the most talented person. Success often belongs to the most consistent person. The person who keeps showing up. The person who keeps learning. The person who keeps investing. The person who keeps improving. Again and again. That's the key. Financial freedom is not built through occasional effort. It is built through repeated effort. Disciplined effort. Purposeful effort. Long-term effort. The wealthy understand this. That is why they continue while others quit. That's the key. Master this principle and your entire financial life changes. Because discipline transforms knowledge into action. Action into habits. Habits into results. And results into freedom. But there is one final obstacle that keeps many people from building wealth. A costly obstacle. An invisible obstacle. Ignorance. Chapter 9. The Price of Financial Ignorance.